Hey there! Today we'll be solving cases and mysteries to maintain safety and order. Are you ready to help? Then let's go!
Yeah.
Here's the first task. A group of cyborgs from a different planet arrived on Earth to study humans' behavior. The police are now tracking them down to keep an eye on everything. So they need to identify all the cyborgs, and they need your help to find a couple of cyborgs in disguise. We're in a cafe, where a group of old-school friends met for a reunion. Who is not really human? This lady right here, the one who's eating with a fork and a nail, this cyborg hasn't quite figured out how life on Earth works yet. Great job, but we have more. What about these guys? Do you see anyone suspicious? This guy right here has purple eyes, so my money is on him. Here's a photo one resident made at a local beach. Take a close look. Which individual isn't a real human being? This one right here. Electrical sparks are coming from him. Okay, this is it with our state. The police in other states and countries will deal with their parts. Now some more private issues.
Yeah.
Mr. McGraw is a single father of 3. Last month, he went on a business trip for a couple of days, and his sons stayed home alone. Old enough, but maybe not wise enough, because when Mr. Jones returned home, he found out that someone crashed their car.
Okay, boys, speak now. Who took the car?
But none of the boys admitted it. Tim said, "These 2 days I spent at home studying." Drew said, "I went to see some friends once, but I took the bus." John said,
I don't even like driving.
"Inspect the car and try to figure out which son is guilty." Look, there's a hoodie left in the car. This is the hoodie John was wearing the day Mr. McGraw left, so he must have caused the accident. This case isn't at all criminal, but someone still needs your help. In a local high school, prom is approaching, and everyone is busy looking for a date. Our main character right here found a note in his locker. Obviously from some fearless girl asking him out, but he can't read the message and doesn't even know who asked him out. Can you help him figure out what's written on the card? It's obviously a cipher, and gladly not the hardest one. Every word is just spelled backwards, so if you put the letters in the normal order, the note will say, "You belong with me. Prom?" There's a name too. It's Juliet. Hopefully our guy will accept the invitation. One of the police stations received a call. A young girl, Allison, reported that her new purple bike, one she saved up for and bought herself, was stolen. Just 1 week after she bought it. The girl asked to help her, and one of the officers was up for the case. She did her research and narrowed it down to 3 suspects. Take a look at them and tell which person stole Allison's bike. It's this mean dude. His bike appears black, but he painted it over its real color. Look, here the paint has chipped a little bit, and you can see the original purple color of the bike. A local jewelry store was robbed. Unfortunately, the police couldn't trace the robber. 2 weeks later in the evening, a city detective, Este, received a call from a farm in the suburb saying that they found something. Este arrived at the farm. The farmer said, I was working in the field and found this message in a bottle. It's a map. It's about that store robbery. Now I look back, I remember that I saw someone in my field 2 weeks ago. It was a full moon, and I saw a silhouette, but I assumed it was an animal. Este arrested the farmer for further investigation. Why? The story looked legit in the beginning, but then he mentioned the full moon. As you can see, it's a full moon now, so it couldn't be the case 2 weeks ago. That's the moment Este knew that the farmer was making something up. A young aspiring actress went missing on her camping trip. She went to the woods all by herself to prepare for her upcoming role. The first people who saw her, 1 week after she left, were police officers in a police department, where she arrived to report her kidnapping. I went to prepare for a role and had all the necessary survival equipment. At first, it was all new romantics, but on the third night, I woke up tied up in the dark. It was a man, but I didn't see him. It was dark the whole time. It took me 4 days before I managed to escape. As soon as I was out of the woods, I ran here, to the nearest police department. You need to find him. The police officer didn't believe her. Why not?
Uh-oh.
The actress says she's just out of the woods, but look at her. She's dressed in style. Her hair looks amazing. That's not what stranded kidnapped people look like, and the detective didn't believe her. A rich young lady was having a party in a VIP club on New Year's Day. Over 200 people were invited. In the middle of the party, the hostess's lover noticed that her diamond earrings went missing.
Oh no!
The police arrived to investigate this delicate case and narrowed it down to 3 suspects. Abigail said, "I'd never steal anything." Stephen said,
The earrings are gorgeous. Everyone noticed them, but stealing...
Cornelia said, "You need to calm down. I am rich." Who's your prime suspect? Look at Cornelia's purse. It's supposed to be an expensive Hermes purse, but the logo is wrong. So, it's a cheap fake. And there's still a tag on her dress, which isn't really rich. She's just playing along to fit in. Someone robbed a bank in a city, and Detective Este was leading the investigation. It was known that 2 people worked on it, but only one of them was caught, Clyde. Clyde refused to name his partner, so the police had to continue their investigation. After months, they had 3 main suspects, Bonnie, Ivy, and Dorothea. Can you figure out who the other criminal is? It's Bonnie. Look, both Bonnie and Clyde have the same snake tattoo on their wrist, so they must be in the same gang. Now let's take a break and train your eyes a little bit. Long story short, Betty is getting ready for a concert and needs your help finding some stuff in her closet. She's looking for a dress, a cardigan, and a red scarf. Here are the exact pictures to help you find the right item. Can you locate them all? Here's the scarf. That's the dress. And look, the cardigan is right here. Good job! Okay, the second and the last item hunt. This is Betty's bedroom. Can you locate a pair of cowboy boots, heart-shaped sunglasses, and red lipstick? Here they are. Did you find them all? Okay, the last one for today. It was a rainy midnight, and Scarlett was studying late in her college library since the hardest exam of the term was 2 days away. At some point, she left to go to the bathroom and grab a snack from a vending machine. When she returned, she noticed that some of her notes went missing.
Oh no!
Apart from the librarian, there were just 3 more people in the library at that hour, so she asked them about the notes. The first student said, "I don't steal, I worry about karma." The second student said, "I went for a walk outside to clear up my head." The third one said, "I was studying, I don't know anything." Who do you think knows something about Scarlett's notes? It's the second student. He said he took a walk outside, but it was raining. If he really did that, he'd be all wet, but he's not. Edward and Stan are best friends. Edward lives with his wife, Leah, and Stan lives alone. Can you spot Stan's house? There's a love note on the fridge in the right kitchen. Therefore, Stan lives in the left one. Edward is furious because Leah cleaned his home office without permission. Can you spot 5 changes? Here they are. A lot of neighbors gather for Edward's garage sale. One of them is a robot. Can you guess who? This gentleman. Stan is visiting a food court and finds 2 similar bakeries. Can you spot 5 differences between them? Over here. What about these burger places? Can you find 10 differences? Here they are. Can you spot a mistake in this menu? Tuna isn't an ice cream. What about this coffee menu? Any mistakes? Free toppings have a price. Stan works in an agency that holds super secret investigations. They're looking for people with superpowers all over the planet. One day, an anonymous user broke into their corporate system where all the data was stored. Stan finds 3 suspects who are capable of such crimes and interrogates them. He asks only one question. What did you manage to find out when you stole the data? Billy says, I haven't done this kind of crime for 15 years. I don't want to go back to prison. Anna says, I was going to steal your data, but I changed my mind. You didn't have any valuable information. Nobody will believe in superheroes. And Liam replies, Bruh, if I committed such a crime, I would have covered all traces. Who's lying? Anna. She couldn't have learned the secret information without breaking into their system. Stan is visiting a fashion show. He received a clue that one of these models can be a robot. Can you guess who? The second lady. She has a USB outlet on her neck. The robot model, Nina, is very famous, and nobody knows that she's not human. Stan invites her to his office. Nina confesses, I arrived from another planet to study human behavior. Unfortunately, someone recorded their secret interrogation and posted it online. Only 4 people were in the office at that moment. Stan questions them. Ryan, the cleaner, says,
I was vacuuming the 5th floor and couldn't hear anything.
Mia, the manager, says, I'm a huge fan of Nina even though she's not a human. I would never set her up like that. And the guard, Billy, says,
I didn't hear your conversation. I was watching a football match in my headphones.
Who's lying? Ryan. Their office is a 4-story building. Nina invites Stan over for dinner. She lives in a big, circular house with a maid, a butler, and a gardener. Nina goes to her room to change. Suddenly, Stan hears her scream and runs to her. Oh no, someone broke into my safe and stole my diamond necklace. Stan interrogates the staff. The butler says he was organizing the library. The maid says that she was dusting the corners. And the gardener says she was watering the roses. Who is lying? The maid. She was dusting the corners, but Nina lives in a circular house. So there are no corners. Stan invites Nina to a fancy restaurant to refute rumors that she's a robot. Can you spot any mistakes in this menu? They confused pomegranate with meat. Stan leaves the table to wash his hands and returns in 2 minutes. Can you spot 5 changes? Here they are. Nina slips and falls on the floor. Now she needs to replace a broken fragment in her body as soon as possible. Stan takes her to a secret lab. They need to enter a 3-digit code to open the door. He starts looking for clues and notices some tips written on the wall. But the last digit is erased. Can you help them crack the password? The digits indicate the points of intersections of the lines. So the last digit is 4. They open the door and enter a spacious hallway. A note on the wall says, Lab is behind the purple door. Can you help the guys find the purple door? The first door is wooden, but it has an inscription and an arrow indicating that the purple door is on the right. The second door is painted blue and red, so it doesn't fit. Let's take a closer look at the third door. There is purple color under the layer of yellow paint, so the guys choose this door. Nina throws a party at her house and invites Stan. He receives an anonymous message. There's a werewolf among the guests. Can you find this person? The first lady is wearing very long nails, and the second guy has a heavy beard. But it doesn't prove anything. But let's take a look at the third lady. She's trying to hide her shiny yellow wolf eyes under her fancy sunglasses. In the kitchen, Stan meets 3 chefs preparing delicious meals. One of them is a criminal. Can you guess who? The third lady. She's adding glass fragments to the food. Stan calls the police and they arrest the third chef. She confesses that one of the guests, John, bribed her. He asked her to put glass in Stan's plate, but there are 3 Johns at the party. The officer asks one of them just one question. How do you know Stan? John 1 says, I'm a billionaire and I don't do interrogations without my lawyer. John 2 says,
I came here to see Nina because she's my crush. I've never seen Stan before. And John 3 says, Stan and I went to the same college. I haven't seen him for many years, but today we met by chance. Who's lying? John 1. He's wearing a fake Gucci sweater. It's unlikely that he's a billionaire. The next day, Stan wakes up in a dusty basement. A creepy voice says that Stan can pass through one of these 3 doors. Behind the first door, there's a tank with crocodiles. Jungles full of wild animals are hiding behind the second door, and there's a giant blue whale behind the third door. It can easily swallow an adult human. Which door is more or less safe? Stan should pick the third door. Whales can't survive without water. Therefore, it's not a threat. Stan returns to his office and finds out that someone has stolen the most expensive superhero costume from the lab. Only 3 people knew about this artifact and had a key: Mia, Billy, and Rose. Stan questions everyone. Mia says, I was feeling sick yesterday, so I went home. Billy says, I locked the office at 10 p.m. and carried my key with me. And Rose says, I carried out technical testing of the suit in the afternoon. After that, I locked it up and left. Who stole the costumes? Mia. She's wearing a superhero costume under her clothes. Stan offers Mia a deal. If I write your exact weight on a piece of paper, you'll give the costume back. Mia agrees and gives Stan a piece of paper and a pen. In a minute, she returns the costume. How did Stan do it? Stan literally did what he said. He wrote the phrase, your exact weight, on the paper. Stan needs to find new investors for his agency. That's why he's meeting 3 people, and each offers Stan a deal. Mallory says, I used to have unique superpowers when I was little, but I didn't develop them. Now I'm old and rich, and I want to invest in your lab to help people like me. Cherry says, my parents left me billions of dollars. I want to invest in progressive projects. And Alfred says,
look, I can help you develop your agency, but I want to have a controlling stake and hire my own staff.
One of them is a liar. Can you guess who? Take a closer look at Mallory's hand. She's a robot. Therefore, her story is a lie, because robots don't age. Ashley was sunbathing on the beach and decided to swim in the sea. When she came back to her deck chair, she noticed that her stuff had been stolen. Ashley called security and they found 3 suspects. Each of the suspects pleaded innocent. Who's guilty? Remember the footprints on the sand? Ashley was barefoot, so one set of footprints is hers. Among the suspects, only one guy is wearing flip-flops. He must be guilty. We're given these things at least 2 times in our lifetime. The first 2 times are always for free, but if you want to get it for the 3rd time, you'll have to pay for that. What is it? These are teeth. Now, this one is to test your eyes and logic at the same time. Can you tell me the number of the parking spaces where the car is parked? It's the question of the point of view here, so instead of reading it from left to right, change the angle, and you'll see the numbers 86, 88, 89, and 90. Therefore, the number of parking spaces is 87. Kelly stands on one side of a river, and her cat somehow ended up on the other. Kelly calls her cat, but you know, these guys aren't into water and swimming in general. However, the cat immediately crossed the river without getting wet, and there were no boats or bridges. How? The river was frozen, so the cat just walked on the ice. Ed went to a bizarre museum. Rumor has it that some of the paintings are hiding real people and even monsters behind the frames. Look at this exposition and find what painting Ed should stay away from. That's the painting of Frankenstein. He's real, as he's the only one who sticks his hands out of the picture. The rest of the monsters are just paintings. In 1890, Jeremiah was 15 years old. Strangely, in 1895, he was 10 years old. How is that possible? Thing is, Jeremiah was born in 1905 BCE. The calendar worked the other way around back then. Luke had a very strict math teacher. One day, when he wasn't on his best behavior, the teacher got angry and said he would send him to a detention room. Luke asked the teacher not to do this, and the teacher said he wouldn't if Luke managed to prove an equation. The equation was 8 plus 8 equals 4. Can you help Luke out? I gotta admit, the teacher cheated a tad bit. It's not about math, but about logic. 8 a.m. plus 8 hours equals 4 p.m. Luke, you'd better behave. Paul asked Mary out multiple times, but she kept refusing his invitations. One day, she said she'd agree to go out with Paul, but it should be at a place that's 3/7 chicken, 2/3 cat, and 2/3 goat. Where does Mary want to go? Seems like Mary's never been to Chicago. Emily told her husband, Jay, that she wanted to invite her friends to dinner at their house. Jay asked how many friends she was going to invite. Emily said that they're all brunette, but 2. They're all redheaded, but 2. And they're all blonde, but 2. So, how many friends does Emily want to invite? She could have simply said she wanted to invite 3 friends, but she loves riddles. Alright, this one went viral on the internet some time ago. If you've missed it, let's crack it right now. I met a man on the London Bridge. He tipped his hat and drew his name. In this riddle, I told you his name. What's his name? His name is Andrew. You just needed to combine the 2 words from one of the lines of the riddle. The Savannah was on fire. 3 lions and 3 zebras fled to save their lives. To escape the fire, they need to cross a river swarming with crocodiles. There was a raft nearby that can carry 2 animals on top at a time, and it needs to be at least 1 lion or 1 zebra on board. Also, the lions can't outnumber the zebras on either side of the river, even for a moment. How can all of them safely cross the river? First, a lion and a zebra should cross the river. The lion stays on the other bank, and the zebra goes back. For the second crossing, the 2 lions take the raft, but only one of them stays on the other side. 1 lion returns. Next, 2 zebras cross the river. To send the raft back, there should be a lion and a zebra on it. Now, there's a lion and a zebra on the safe bank, and 2 zebras and 2 lions on the bank that's on fire. For the next crossing, 2 zebras take the raft. Now, all the zebras are safe and the lion can bring his friends one by one. Mr. Collins is a math professor. He wanted to make it simpler for his students, so he suggested an idea. Whoever can solve the problem he gives does not have to take the exam at the end of the semester. The problem was, how can the number 5 be half of 4? Can you solve it? Well, to solve the problem, you need to use Roman numerals and not Arabic as we typically do. In Roman numerals, IV stands for 4 and V stands for 5. Seems like 5 is indeed half of 4, according to this logic. This one is a bit tricky, so be alert. First, think of the color of the cloud. Then, think of the color of the snow. And finally, think of the color of a bright full moon. Now answer quickly, what do cows drink? Yeah, it's not much of a riddle, but rather a psychological trick. It's water, not milk. You see, you were fixated on the white color from the start, and the association with cows made you think of milk. If you answered water instead, congrats! Your brain can't be tricked easily. 3 different doctors said Michael is their brother, but Michael says he has no brother. Who is lying? Actually, no one's lying. The 3 doctors are Michael's sisters. Amy and Parker were walking in the woods when they saw an old hut. They walked inside, but the door they entered suddenly disappeared. Instead, 3 new doors appeared. Behind the first one, there were venomous spiders. Behind the second door, arrows were flying across at head height. At the third door, hit a 30-foot drop. Which door leads to freedom? They should choose the second door. They don't need to walk, they can simply crawl under the arrows. Jennifer had to go to the hospital the other day. Walking along the corridor, she spotted 3 doctors. One of them seemed suspicious to her. Why? Look at the doctor on the left. He's got wolf eyes and teeth, and there's no badge on his uniform. I wouldn't let a werewolf examine me. Patrick met a stranger yesterday, and he immediately knew who he was. He hadn't seen this person before, and no one had ever described him to Patrick. This person wasn't a celebrity, and he wasn't doing anything unusual. How come he knew who he was? The man was the twin brother of Patrick's friend. Molly, Holly, and Sally are going to the prom in a fancy limousine, but the car breaks down on the way. The party hall is nearby, so the ladies decide to walk. Suddenly, it starts to rain. Luckily, all 3 ladies have umbrellas, but still, one of them gets wet. Can you guess who? Holly. Her skirt is wider than the diameter of her umbrella. Finally, the ladies arrive at the prom. All of their friends look very elegant and fancy. Leah is wearing very expensive designer shoes. Bella carries a Chanel bag. Alice is taking selfies with the latest smartphone. And Kim is showing off a sparkling diamond necklace. But in fact, only one of them is wealthy. Can you guess who? Take a closer look at the logo. Bella's Chanel bag is fake. Leah's shoes are way bigger than her feet, so she probably borrowed them from someone else. As for Alice, the smartphone in her hand is not hers. It has Kim's name on it, so Kim is the richest person here. Kim goes to the dance floor. Bobby, Billy, and Kenny invite her to dance, but one of these guys was bitten by a vampire, so he's not safe to dance with. Can you guess who? Bobby has a red mark on his shirt, but it's just lipstick. Billy's drinking something red, but it's just a cherry punch. Meanwhile, Kenny doesn't have any shadow, so he's a vampire. Kim goes to the ladies' room, but all 3 stalls are occupied. There's a robot inside one of them. Can you guess where? Let's take a look at the first lady's feet. Ouch! She's rubbed multiple corns with her fancy sandals. She can't be a robot. As for the third lady, her pedicure is too messy for a robot. Therefore, the robot is in the second stall. Bella asks Kim to take her picture. Kim takes a couple of shots. Can you find 3 differences between them? Here they are. Kim goes back to the party and spots a runaway criminal among the guests. Can you see this person too? It's the show host. He's hiding a prison robe under his suit. At the party, Bella gets bitten by a vampire too. Kim takes her to the hospital. They meet 2 doctors in the lobby. One of them is an imposter. Can you guess who? Real doctors wear gloves, and the woman on the right doesn't wear any. Bella gets into a hospital ward with 3 other people. One of them is not sick. Can you guess who? The woman on the left looks perfectly healthy. She has her lipstick on and a glamorous hairstyle. Although her arm is broken, it doesn't mean that she's sick. Kim comes home from a long day. She's very excited to treat herself with a bubble bath. She's been dreaming about it all day. But someone used up all her bubble foam. Kim interrogates her family members. Father says, "I spent all day at the garage repairing my old car, and I haven't visited the bathroom yet." Mother says, "I was feeling sick all day, so I didn't pay any attention to your beauty products." And Kim's brother says, "It wasn't me who took your bubble foam, but I think it was Mom." Who did it? Take a closer look at Dad's beard. There's pieces of foam on it. Busted! The next night, Kim goes to a sleepover with her friends. One of them is a werewolf. Can you guess who? This guy is a werewolf. Take a look at his claws.
Oh no.
Kim puts some cash in a stash in her room and leaves for Granny's house. In a couple of days, Kim returns and realizes that someone had stolen her money. How did she guess? Kim's stash was in this book. It was on the shelf when she left, and now the book is gone. Kim runs to the living room and yells at her family. "Who stole my book?" Everyone swears to have nothing to do with the robbery, but Kim spots the thief right away. What about you? It's the brother. He used the book as a stand for his PlayStation. Kim is watching a TV program about risky sports. Can you help her guess which guy has a better chance of survival? The one who's falling into the snow has a higher chance to survive. Hitting the water can be tough, and he still needs to get out of the ocean. Kim's dad wants to buy a boat. His agent arranges a meeting with 3 people. Each tells a brief story about their boats. Karen says,
My husband gave me this boat 5 years ago as a wedding gift. That's why it has my name. But now I want to sell it because we don't use it.
Charles says, I inherited this boat from my father. It works very well, but I don't need it because I'm moving abroad. And Liam says, I built this boat on my own, but now I'm building a bigger one, so I'd like to sell it to get some cash. One of the sellers is lying. Can you spot who? Take a closer look at the first boat. Its name is Karma, not Karen. Therefore, she's a liar.
Oh.
Kim goes to the nearby hardware store to buy something for her home. Kim asks,
How much for the one?
the shopkeeper replies,
It's $2.
then Kim asks,
How much for 11?
the shopkeeper replies,
It's $4.
and finally, Kim asks,
How much for 100?
and the shopkeeper replies,
$6.
what is Kim buying? She's buying a house number. Each digit costs $2. Kim's cat, Fluffy, ran away. She's been looking for him in a forest all evening. Finally, she gets tired and heads home. But suddenly, she sees a witch's house on the way. Kim enters and faces the witch. Fluffy is sitting on her lap. The witch says,
I'll release your cat if you crack my riddle. I have two besties who are identical twins. Emma was born in 2003 and Gemma in 2004.
how is it possible? They're twins, but they were born on New Year's Eve. Emma was born right before midnight and Gemma right after midnight. The next day, Kim meets a handsome guy who likes puzzles. She asks his name, but instead of answering directly, the guy writes a date on a piece of paper. Can you help Kim figure out his name? Each number implies a particular letter of the alphabet. The guy's name is Theo. Theo invites Kim to an art exhibition. Take a look at these squares. Which one is bigger, yellow or green? All these black and white squares usually confuse perception, but it becomes obvious that the green square is larger than the yellow one if we put them away. Kim asks Theo, "What month were you born?" He replies with 4 emojis. Can you guess the month? Jack-o'-lantern stands for J. The next emoji implies U. Nut stands for N. And eggplant stands for E. Theo was born in June. Kim and Theo go for a walk in an abandoned village. They see a sign leading to a famous haunted castle. There are 4 possible routes, but only one of them will actually lead them to the castle. Can you figure out the correct way? It's way easier to untangle this maze if you start drawing from the final destination. They should take Route B. Finally, Kim and Theo find the castle. They enter the property and see a fancy living room. There are 6 zombies hiding in the living room. Can you spot them? Hello! The guys run away from the zombies and hide in the basement. They wander around and see 3 doors. Suddenly, the basement begins to get filled with water. Kim and Theo have to choose a door quickly to escape. But each door has a surprise. There's a tank with a family of sharks behind the first door. There's a deep hole with sharp venomous corals behind the second door. And there's a tank with piranhas behind the third door. Which door is more or less safe?
the second door. The basement is full of water, so they can swim over the corals. Today, I'm going to put your attentiveness to the test. Pay attention to every little detail, and you'll solve all the riddles in no time. Mark was walking along the river when he heard someone screaming. It was a young woman who was drowning. The guy immediately left his jacket and backpack on the ground and jumped into the water. Luckily, he was on time. When Mark pulled the woman out of the river, he saw a passerby standing next to his stuff.
Unfortunately, I can't swim, but I looked after your things,
the man said. Then why did you rummage in my backpack? Mark asked. How did he understand someone had opened his backpack? When he dropped the bag on the ground, the zipper was on the left side, but now it's on the right side. It was a scorching hot day when Thomas made a bet with his friends. At that time, they were chilling in the garden, drinking water and lemonade. Thomas told his friends that water produced by different companies tasted different too. You can blindfold me. I'll take a sip from 2 bottles of water, the one we have on the table and the one from a different producer. I saw it in the kitchen. I bet I'll be able to tell the difference. Then he did exactly that. His friends were ready to give Thomas the money he had won. But one of them cut in.
You were cheating,
he said. Why did he think so? It was an extremely hot day. No wonder the water had been outside for several hours, which was much warmer than the water brought from the kitchen. Someone robbed a bank in a large city. A police detective went to visit the main suspect, who had been detained several times before.
I've been feeling unwell this week, and I haven't left my apartment for 3 days. Luckily, I didn't need food. My fridge is full. You can make sure of it yourself,
the man said, and opened his fridge. But the detective realized the man was lying and arrested him. How did he figure it out? First of all, that loaf of bread on the table looks fresh. Plus, if the man had been staying inside for 3 days already, his fridge wouldn't be so full. Mr. Black sold beautiful, rare vases. There were dozens of them on the shelves of his store. One day, the man called the police. When they arrived, the owner had his head bandaged and his store was a mess. Some guys in masks ran into my store and grabbed the money and the most expensive vases. Then they hit me on the head and I blacked out. Police officers immediately understood that Mr. Black was lying to get the insurance money. How did they figure it out? Even though most of the vases are on the floor, they aren't even cracked. But if the vases had fallen down from the shelves during the robbery, they would have been shattered. Look at these 2 bloggers. As you see, they both seem to be very popular. They also have the same amount of likes, but there's something wrong with one of them. She must be hiding something. What is it? The girl on the right has a fake bag. The logo on it looks like that of Chanel, but it's written Gucci underneath. Marcel was driving along a dangerous mountain road. Suddenly, he saw a man sitting on the side of the road and stopped. It turned out the man hadn't managed to control his car. It fell off the road and the man got thrown out of the window. And now, his very expensive car was beyond repair.
Could you be my witness when I prepare the documents for my insurance company?
The man asked Marcel. The guy agreed, but asked the man to show him what was inside the car. The man took the key out of his pocket and unlocked the damaged vehicle. I won't take part in this fraud, Marcel said. Why did he think the man was lying? If the man had been thrown out of the car, the key would still be in the ignition. Dylan and Susan had been happily married for 10 years. One day, Dylan went on a business trip. When he returned, Susan immediately understood that the man wasn't her husband. How did she figure it out? Dylan always wore his wedding ring. If you were attentive, you must have noticed it on his finger. But the man who returned to Susan didn't have the wedding ring. The police found out that a smuggler was going to leave the country through the largest airport in the city. A detective arrived there and detained 3 people who looked suspicious. Look at them and try to figure out who the smuggler is. It's the 3rd passenger. His suitcase is full of totally random stuff. Women's shoes, some random socks, a pair of old dirty jeans, and even a wig. Plus, when closed, the suitcase looks much larger than when it's open. Sarah's husband, Michel, was a professional cyclist. He was about to have a challenging cycling tournament. "I promise I'll bring you the bouquet they give to the winner," Michel told Sarah. 4 hours later, he came back with beautiful flowers. But Sarah realized right away that Michelle hadn't won the tournament. How did she figure it out? Those flowers are actually from Sarah's garden. The same flowers are growing next to their house. Look at these people. The man is in the hospital. He's lost his memory. And these 2 women both claim to be his partner. One of them is obviously lying, but which one? The woman on the left is lying. If they were married, they would have wedding rings on their fingers. Now, there are these 3 people. One of them is lying. Who is it? Look at this woman claiming that she's pregnant. See that Adam's apple? It's a man. He can't be pregnant. Look at these people. Can you figure out who's a vampire? It's this man. See those fangs? Creepy. Which of these girls is the man's wife? It's the girl on the right. She's wearing a necklace saying Kate, and the man has a tattoo with the same name on his arm. A store security guard stopped a man who was leaving a clothing store. "The sales assistant claims you've stolen a pair of expensive gloves."
These are my gloves. I've had them for ages.
But the security guard immediately understood the man was lying. How? The man wouldn't be able to use these gloves. They're both for the same hand. Rachel reached the final of a game show. In the last round, she could win a gold bar, but only if she managed to get it. One of the bars was in a container with boiling hot water. The jar containing the second bar was filled with strong acid. And in the third jar, there were venomous scorpions. Which container should Rachel choose? The woman just needs to wait until the water in the first jar cools down and take the gold bar. Detective Adams came to a park to have lunch in the sun, but his attention was drawn by 3 men running around a fountain. Each of them was shouting, "Thief! Catch the thief!" The detective was confused. Who was the real thief? That's why he just kept watching. After some time, the distance between the men shortened.
Detective Adams immediately realized who the real thief was. Can you figure it out too? If the third man was the thief, the second one would only have to turn around to catch him. The same goes for the second man, which means the man running the first is the criminal. If it rains at midnight, can you expect that in 72 hours it will be sunny? No way! In 72 hours, it's gonna be night again. Can you crack this rebus puzzle? That's right, it means accelerate.
All set? Here we go.
Yeah.
Twiggy's got her 2 piggies. Alex grooves with his 2 wolves. And Tony has a pony. They're all on the shore of a vast and dangerous river. They need to get across, and there's only one small raft nearby. But it's not as simple as it might seem. There are 5 rules the guys need to follow. Rule number 1, the raft can only carry 2 of them. Number 2, only humans can row. Number 3, piggies can't ride with Alex unless Twiggy's around. Number 4, wolves can't ride with Twiggy without Alex. And finally, number 5, the pony can only ride with Tony. How can they all get across? First, they need Tony on board. He needs to take one of the wolves across. Rules do not ban doing it. When he comes back, Alex takes the second wolf and takes it across the river. Alex goes back alone and takes Twiggy. They go to the other shore, where Twiggy leaves Alex and goes back alone. She gives the raft to Tony and his pony, and they go to the other shore. On the other shore, Alex takes the raft and goes to pick up Twiggy. He picks her up, they go back, and Twiggy leaves Alex there. She goes back to take her pigs one by one. Finally, I thought this was never going to end. Oliver got lost on the road while he was driving, so he found the nearest town and decided to spend a night in a hotel. He went to the buffet. Oliver said he couldn't smell the food because his nose was blocked due to his allergy. Suddenly, the lights went off and everyone fell asleep. The next morning, Oliver had a terrible headache and he couldn't remember anything. Look at these 2 photos from before and after the lights went out. Can you guess what happened? Look, there are some balloons in the first photo and none in the second one. They must have been filled with sleeping gas. Someone wanted everyone asleep. One day, Mary came to work and realized that their office had been robbed. The night guard said he was patrolling when he suddenly heard suspicious noises. When he got there, he saw that the office door was wide open, and so was the safe. The night guard also said that he looked out of the window and noticed someone getting into the car, but the sun blinded him and he couldn't see who it was. Mary instantly went to one of the police officers and said that the guard was lying. Why?
Uh-oh.
Well, there's no sun at night, so it couldn't have blinded him. The night guard must have invented the whole story to cover the criminals. Or is he a criminal himself? Mark is in a trap. He's in a burning room, which the fire will destroy in a minute. The only window in the room is too high. There's nothing in the room to climb on. Mark had no ropes, ladders, or any other devices that could help him. Plus, the door wasn't installed in that room. What should he do to survive? Nobody helped Mark, but he still managed to get out totally unharmed. You see, the door wasn't installed, but there was a doorway. He just left the burning room through it. Tina and Timothy love adventures. This time, they decided to check out an ancient castle that belongs to a powerful witch. The witch can also turn into any object and copy anyone's appearance. In the castle, they used torches to light their way when all of a sudden their torches went out.
Oh no!
Tina got terribly scared, but then suddenly the light came on and she saw two husbands of hers in front of her. Can you tell who's her real husband? It's the man on the right. He has 5 fingers, like a real human. The man on the left has 4 fingers. So this must be the witch. An anonymous person called the police and told them that a notorious criminal had come back to the town. The next day, they called the police once again to report the screams they heard coming from an abandoned house. The police rushed there. They broke in and saw 3 tied-up men. They thought that one of them must have been the criminal. One of the officers said he knew exactly who the criminal was. Can you spot them? Look at the man on the left. Can you see a phone in his pocket? A criminal would never let any of the victims use the phone. Take him, officer. Miles is a successful businessman. One day, he posted a vacancy on a website. He was looking for a new assistant. The new assistant was supposed to speak Chinese and Spanish. Pete saw that ad and called his wife Mary. That position would be just perfect for her, as she spoke both those languages. Mary dialed the phone number from the ad immediately. In reality, Miles didn't need an assistant, but he still hired Mary. Why? Mary seems to be having an affair with Miles. Did you notice that Miles' number was saved in Mary's phone? Miles posted this vacancy on purpose to cover up their affair. 3 men were sitting around a table drinking coffee. They all look alike, but only 2 of them are brothers, and the third one just doesn't belong here because he's an alien. Who is it? It's the man sitting on the right. He's got 12 fingers. Yeah, the one sitting in the center has a weird ear shape, but look at the family portrait on the wall. His dad had the very same ears, too. Gabrielle is a shop assistant in a department store. At the moment, there are 3 people in the fitting room she's assisting. It's Jessica, the girl wearing a green dress, Sean, a man wearing a leather jacket and skinny jeans, and Alex, the man who's currently taking a larger pair of jeans that Gabrielle brought him. One of the clients is an alien. Gabrielle has to figure out who it is. It's Alex. Take a closer look at his feet. Only a reptile or an alien can have such feet. You find yourself trapped in a medieval castle, far away from civilization. Boy, are you on a bad vacation. You can't jump out of the window because it's too high above the ground. The only tree growing near the window doesn't look sturdy enough for you to climb down. However, there are 3 doors, one of which can lead you to freedom. But behind the first door, there's a fierce fire. The second door holds back hundreds of venomous snakes. And behind the third door, there's a pitch-dark maze, and you can only imagine what surprises are waiting for you there. Which door should you choose? The third, you'll just need to break off a tree branch, turn it into a torch by lighting it in the first room, and go through the maze. It won't be dark now. Kate was in her hotel room when someone knocked on the door. She opened the door and saw a stranger. He apologized and said that he thought it was his room. When he walked away, she instantly called hotel security. Why did Kate get suspicious? The stranger said he thought it was his room, but if it was really so, he wouldn't have knocked on the door. Robert is a manager at a large international company in London. His boss decided to send Robert on a business trip to New York to find new clients. So the company gave Robert a large sum of money to sponsor the trip. A week later, Robert FaceTimed his boss and said he was in New York, but unfortunately, he didn't manage to find new clients. The boss didn't believe him. Why? The wall clock in the boss's room shows the very same time Robert's wall clock does. But there's a time difference between London and New York, so Robert must be lying about the trip.
Hey Brightsiders, I've prepared a new portion of mind-boggling riddles. And what does it mean? It's time to put on your detective hat. Let's go!
Yeah.
Jake loved making bets with his friends. This time, he bet that he could put a bottle of water in the middle of his living room and crawl into it. His friends were sure they would win. But somehow, Jake won the bet again. Can you understand how he did it? Well, Jake said he would put a bottle of water in the middle of the room and crawl into it. But he didn't specify if he would crawl into the bottle or into the room. So he simply crawled into the room and won the bet. Now try to crack this riddle. It's nothing but holes tied to other holes. At the same time, this thing is as strong as steel, but not as stiff as a pole. What is it? It's a chain. Dylan was trapped in a basement. The only thing he found inside was a note and a pen. Find the way to get 200 out of 188 with one line, and you'll be free. 5 minutes later, the door opened automatically, and Dylan was free. What did he do? He drew a horizontal line to divide 188. This way, he got 2 ones and 4 zeros. Look at these 4 people in a grocery store. Can you figure out who is going to steal a watermelon? It's the man with a soccer ball. It seems as if he's holding something heavy. It must be the watermelon disguised as a soccer ball. Robert was a collector of unusual coins. One day, the man called the police and reported one of his rarest coins missing. He was sure the culprit was one of his brothers, Frederick or Matthew, who lived together with him. One of them collected ancient books, and the other was crazy about rare stamps. All the collections were kept in the same large room in the house. The key to the room was kept in a vase standing on the fireplace. The only other person besides the brothers who visited the house was Robert's friend Mark. When the police arrived, they found out the room had been opened with the key. The officers also didn't find any fingerprints. Do you know who stole the coin?
Uh-oh.
It was Mark. He was the only person who had a reason for getting rid of the fingerprints. The brothers' fingerprints would be absolutely natural since they live there. Now you have to think outside the box to crack this one.
Yeah.
1 is to 3 as 3 is to 5, and 5 is to 4. And 4 is the magic number. Can you figure out the pattern? The word 1 has 3 letters, the word 3 has 5, and the word 5 consists of 4 letters, but the word 4 has only 4 letters in it. And whatever number you try, eventually you'll come back to 4, and the game will end there. Look at this picture. Can you figure out which mermaid is his wife? Have you spotted a tattoo on the man's neck? It's the letter L, see? And now the mermaid on the right also has a tattoo. It's the letter J. They most likely depicted the first letters of each other's names, so they must be husband and wife. The next picture for you. Which girls are sisters? These two mermaids are sisters. Have you noticed that they have identical moles on their faces? Wow, a race on seahorses? That's something new. But can you figure out which mer person is cheating? One of the guys has a robotic seahorse. See that USB port on its neck? And now look at these young people playing beach volleyball. Can you figure out who's not human? It's this girl. If you compare her with her friends, she's the only one who's not sweating and isn't red-faced because of the heat and exertion. Kimberly inherited an old house from her rich aunt. When the young woman was exploring the cellar, she came across a massive wooden door. She opened it and saw a small room with 3 bags and a note. One of the bags has $1 million and the others are empty. You can only open one bag, so think carefully. Kimberly also noticed that there was a message on each bag. The first bag claimed, "The cash is not here." The message on the second bag was, "The cash is not here." And the third bag said, "The cash is in the second bag." If only one message is true, which bag has the money? The money can't be in the second or third bags. If it was so, then 2 messages would be true. It means the money is in the first bag. This next riddle will challenge your math skills. Add this number to the same one and multiply the result by 4. Then divide it by 8. And you'll have the very first number again. What number is it? It can be any number. You can try it out to make sure. Jason took part in a game show and ended up as one of the 2 contestants to make it to the finals. He came up to the table with 3 cups on it, but only one of these drinks was safe to try. The other 2 were poisoned. And even though a mistake wouldn't cost Jason his life, the consequences would be unpleasant. The drinks were tea with sugar, cappuccino, and hot chocolate. Which one should Jason choose? If it was indeed sugar in the tea, it would have melted completely, but it didn't happen. The cappuccino looks suspiciously green. It's probably unsafe to drink. Jason opted for the hot chocolate and won the challenge. A man was in an 8-story building when a fire started. He jumped out of the window but didn't even bruise himself. How is it possible? The man jumped out of the first-floor window. I was driving along the highway when one of my car tires burst. I stopped to change it, but when I came back to the car, I saw it had a flat battery. I looked around and realized I was in the middle of a small town. I decided to wait for someone who could help me. Suddenly, I heard glass shatter. The night was very dark, so I switched on the headlights and saw a man with a large bag climbing out of a house. I immediately ran to the nearest police station to report the crime. That's what Mr. Darrison told the police. The detective who was listening to him asked, "And where did you hide everything you'd stolen from that house?" How did he come to this conclusion? If Mr. Darrison's car battery was flat, how could he switch on the headlights? Can you figure out which passengers on this bus are zombies? There are 2 zombies on the bus. This man with a bandage on his neck and one ear missing. And this business lady sitting near the window. She's making bizarre growling noises. How about some rebus puzzles? Here we go.
Yeah.
What does it mean? That's how you greet people. Good afternoon. Okay, now try this one. It's progress underway. And how about this one? Ah, this one was easy. It's accelerate. It was winter when an elderly couple finished building a pretty new house. The husband was responsible for the construction, while his wife was a self-appointed decorator. The house looked beautiful. Very proud, they invited their grandchildren to have a look at their work. But within an hour, the kids managed to break several windows. They also knocked down the fence, removed the decorations, and ruined the roof. But the most bizarre thing, the grandparents didn't seem to mind. Can you figure out what happened there? The grandparents made a gingerbread house and invited their grandchildren to eat it. Karen is at a corporate party. Her boss, Mia, brings a bunch of identical envelopes and says, "I personally put the grand prize in one of these envelopes. It's a certificate for a trip to Bali. But no worries, the remaining envelope contains consolidation prizes prepared by our sponsors. Can you help Karen win the trip to Bali?" There's a lipstick print on this envelope. Mia has a similar lip color. She said that she had personally packed only one envelope, so the grand prize should be here. The day of Karen's flight to Bali has finally come. She calls a taxi to the airport. Soon, 3 identical taxis arrive at her porch. But only one of these drivers can actually give Karen a safe ride. Can you guess who? The second car has a flat tire, and the driver of the third taxi is a werewolf. Take a look at his claws. It's a full moon, so he'll turn into a wolf soon. Therefore, Karen should choose the first taxi. Karen's luggage is too heavy, so she goes to the cash register to pay for the excess. Oh no, her card holder is gone. Karen asks 3 people standing nearby, "Have you seen a pink card holder?" The cleaner says, "I found 2 lost wallets today, but none of them look like yours." The cashier says,
I was busy with another customer, so I didn't look around.
and another passenger says, "Don't waste time, honey. Block your cards as soon as possible." Who stole the wallet? Nobody. Karen put it in the fold of her hat and forgot it there. See? On the plane, the steward asks Karen to switch seats with another passenger. Karen can choose one of these 3 seats. Can you help her figure out the best option? This man has very long legs, so he'll probably kick the back of Karen's chair all along. The second option is next to this elegant lady, but she's stealing money from another passenger. Probably not the best company for a long-hour flight. Although the third guy looks like a vampire, it's just a costume. He's sitting by the window, but the sun rays don't bother him, so he's the best option. Karen arrives at a fancy hotel in Bali. The manager shows her the 3 best bungalows to choose from, but only one of them is safe enough. Can you help Karen to make the best choice? The first bungalow doesn't have a door, which makes Karen an easy target for robbers and mosquitoes. And there's a scorpion under the bed in the third bungalow, so she should choose the second one. On the beach, Karen meets 3 ladies who claim to be millionaires and show her pictures to prove it. But one of them is fake rich. Can you guess who? It's the first lady. She's just modeling for an electric toothbrush commercial, so her luxury is artificial. Karen is walking down the shore and sees a party. It's a beach wedding, so the bride and groom don't wear traditional costumes. Can you find the newlyweds among these people? Take a look at the cake. The letters say Harry plus Amy. This lady is wearing a necklace with the name Amy, so she's the bride. And now, look at the flower garland around her neck. Only one person is wearing the identical garland, this guy, so he's probably the groom. Karen spots her former classmate, Tom, among the guests. He's talking to a strange lady. The lady is wearing a hoodie and standing with her back turned to Karen, so Karen can't see her face. Tom and the lady leave together and hide from everyone on the roof of the beach restaurant where the party takes place. Later that night, Karen also visits the roof. There's no one else here, but after checking the roof, Karen knows for sure which of these 3 ladies is Tom's secret girlfriend. How did she know? The third lady's dress is decorated with gold sequins. She lost 1 sequin on the roof. Tom sees Karen and invites her for a walk along the shore. She spots 4 weird things right away. Can you see them too? A mermaid is hiding in the waves. This sandcastle has electric lighting. Tree branches flutter in the wind to the right, but the flags to the left. And finally, the moon has a creepy face. The next morning, Karen goes to the buffet breakfast. She wants to get a smoothie, but there's no information about the ingredients in English. Unfortunately, Karen is allergic to strawberries. Can you figure out which smoothies are safe for her? It's all about the color. Only the green and yellow smoothies don't contain any strawberries for sure. Other options are risky. Karen enters a spa center. The manager asks her to wait for 15 minutes. Karen takes a seat and falls asleep. She wakes up after a while and finds out that someone had given her a heart-shaped tattoo. She questions 3 suspects. Bobby, the client, says, "Lady, I've just arrived on my motorbike. If I see any crazy tattoo artists around here, I'll tell you." Leah says, "I've been cleaning the bathroom within the last 30 minutes. And Tony, the massage therapist, says,
Sorry, I was busy with my client, so I didn't look at you at all.
Who's lying? Bobby, this motorbike has flat tires, and besides, it was already there when Karen entered the spa. Luckily, the tattoo was temporary, and the massage therapist helped Karen to remove it, but he charged her $5 for his help. Karen arrived at the spa during happy hours when they offer a 45% discount on all services, so Karen paid only $12 for a 1-hour massage. Also, she had a pedicure for $7. When Karen left, she found a $50 bill on the ground. How much money did Karen spend in total? Can you count? Karen spent a total of $24. As for this $50 bill, it's fake, so it doesn't make any difference. Karen brings her clothes to the local laundry owned by 3 sisters. She returns to pick up her stuff in 5 hours. Unfortunately, someone has burned her favorite dress with an iron. Karen gets furious and questions the sisters. Mia says, "I didn't iron today, it must be Pia." Pia says,
Nah, I was planting roses in the garden all day. It must be Gia.
and Gia says, "I don't know who's guilty because I've been away all day." Who burned Karen's dress? It was Pia. Take a look at the garden. Can you see any roses? Exactly. Karen returns to her hotel room and finds a huge bouquet in a vase. The note says, "Love, your secret admirer." Karen calls the reception to find out more. The manager says, "One of the hotel's male guests ordered the flowers, but I can't reveal his name." Only 3 male guests stay in this hotel at the moment: Hans, Jacques, and Will. Karen meets them all at the beach and spots her secret admirer right away. Do you have any clue who it might be? Karen received pink lilies. Take a look at Hans's shirt. It has a print with pink lilies. He loves these flowers, but this doesn't prove anything. Will has a tan line from a wedding ring, and he's taking pictures of his wife surfing. But Jacques is writing in the sand, and his handwriting looks suspiciously similar to the love note. Spotted! Karen and Jacques go for a walk. He brings her to a pier with 3 boats. Jacques says, "If you manage to guess where my boat is, I'm going to give it away to you. Can you help Karen find the right answer?" Someone's sleeping on the second boat, but this doesn't mean that the person is the owner. The third boat is called Jacques, but this name is quite popular. Let's take a closer look at the first boat. Can you see the red trousers on a hanger? They match perfectly with Jacques' jacket. Therefore, this is his boat.
Jenny and Ben were about to get married. They wanted to book a hotel for their wedding ceremony in the party. So they went to a wedding planner to look at some options. She told them only 3 hotels were available for the day they wanted and showed them the pictures. Which one should they choose? Take a closer look at the 3rd floor windows of the first hotel. In the last window on the right, There's a creepy shadow of a monster that appears and disappears. 5 stars or not, no one would like to get married in a haunted place, unless they're an Addams Family member. In the third hotel, only has 2 stars. It probably doesn't have the facilities to host a wedding, so the best choice is the second hotel. Great choice, the wedding planner said, and you're in luck because they actually have a great discount offer. If you can answer this riddle correctly, you won't have to pay for the ballroom rental. Here it is. Those who have it, do not say it. Those who take it, do not know it. Those who know it, do not want it. What is it? Do you know the answer? It's fake money. The next day, Ben and Jenny went to the hotel to pick the best ballroom for their party. The hotel manager took them to 3 different rooms where they could host everything, from the ceremony itself to the dinner and after party. Which one should they pick? Do you see a little mouse hole in the corner of the first ballroom? The couple wouldn't want such uninvited guests at their party. As for the second ballroom, the chandelier looks like it might fall down any minute. Not the safest option, so they should pick the third ballroom. It was time for Ben and Jenny to pick the wedding menu. Since they were not paying for the venue, they wanted to spare no expense in serving food that the guests would never forget. That's why they called 3 different Michelin star chefs. Each of them prepared a different dish and presented them for a tasting. Which chef, and therefore which dish, should they go for? Even though the dish the second chef made looks perfectly fine, do you see a rat's tail hanging from his chef's hat? There must be some ratatouille situation going on there. So that's a pass. The third dish looks like spaghetti, right? Well, look again. Those are actually very thin snakes. Exotic flavors might not be the best option, so they better go with the classical burger that the first chef made. Before they made their wedding vows, Jenny had to say yes to a dress. So, she went to a couture store to check their wedding gown collection. She explained to the designer the style of the dress she wanted for her ceremony. The designer said he had just the perfect gown for her and would bring it to her if she answered his riddle correctly. He asked, if a gown takes an hour to dry, how many hours will it take 6 dresses to dry? It'll still take 1 hour because they'll all dry at the same time. Ben had one last item to buy on his wedding shopping list, and it was what fastens 2 people yet touches only one. Can you figure out what it is? It's a wedding ring, of course. Ben headed to a jewelry store to get something blue for his bride. The store owner showed him 3 different wedding rings with blue gemstones. Which one should he buy? The second ring has an engraving inside, so it must have belonged to someone else before. The gemstone on the third ring has a tiny crack in it. That can only mean it's made of glass or even plastic. So, Ben should buy the first ring with a sapphire. Next, Ben and Jenny were going to send out invitations. One print shop offered them 3 different versions of invitations. Which one should they choose? Do you remember the name of the hotel they booked? It was Sunrise Lodge, but the first invitation says Sunset Lodge. So this one won't do. And on the third invitation, their names are printed as Benny and Jen. That's not our couple, so they should choose the second invitation. Before the wedding, 3 of their friends paid them a visit. One of them brought a painting as a wedding gift. but all three claimed that they were the artist who had created it. Two of them must be lying. Can you figure out who the actual artist is? Take a look at the signature on the painting. It says Denise. Now look at the third friend's necklace. It has the letter D, so she must be Denise, the artist who painted the painting. It was finally the day of the wedding, and Ben and Jenny's guests started to arrive. However, the hotel security spotted three suspicious-looking people who could be uninvited. Take a look at these three guys. Can you tell which one is not supposed to be at the wedding? Do you see the hotel wristbands that say Ben and Jenny, that the second and the third guys are wearing? That can only mean they are actually invited. So it's the first guy who's crushing the wedding. Sorry, dude, no free drinks for you. After the vows were exchanged, it was time to party. As Ben and Jenny were dancing, someone spilled their drink on Jenny's dress, but no one saw who it was. Jenny spotted three people who could have done it. Take a look at them. Can you tell who ruined her dress? The first guy has spots on his shirt that resemble stains from the spilled drink, but they are actually part of the pattern, so it can't be him. The third lady looks clean, but the hem of the second lady's skirt looks dirty, so it must be her who did it. After the ceremony ended, Ben and Jenny wanted to take a photo to capture the moment forever. But take a look at it. There's something strange about it. Can you spot what it is? Can you see a woman hiding behind the trees watching them? She is wearing a witch hat, but it's a wedding ceremony and not a costume party. Creepy. Right before leaving, Jenny suddenly vanished. Then the witch suddenly appeared in front of Ben and said, "You may only kiss the bride if you figure out with whom you really tied the knot. Ha ha!" Then two Jennys appeared in front of Ben. Can you tell which one is his real wife? Remember the wedding photo? The Jenny on the left is the real one because her tattoo is on the same side as in the photo. Now that Ben and Jenny's wedding was over, phew, it was time for them to pick a honeymoon destination. They went to a travel agency to book a tour. The travel agent offered them 3 different holiday destinations: Ibiza, Cannes, in the Caribbeans. Which one should they go to? Have you noticed the weather forecast on TV in the office? It states that the weather in Ibiza is going to be windy in the upcoming days, and in Cannes, it's going to be rainy. So they should pick the Caribbeans and enjoy the sun. The travel agent said she could upgrade their plane tickets to business class for free. It would be her wedding gift to them. But they had to crack this riddle. What can travel around the world while staying in a corner? It's a stamp.
Driving through the country to visit their family. One day, late at night, they were on a lonely country road. That's when a powerful storm broke, and their car tire burst. They had to leave the vehicle to find help, but there was nothing, and no one around. Sometime later, they came across an old and spooky mansion that seemed abandoned, but the guys decided to try and see if anyone lived there and could help them. They arrived at the mansion gate. On a metal address plaque, it was written, "The House of Riddles." Gemma and Andy got suspicious, but they desperately needed shelter from the storm and some help with their car. So they decided to enter. But the gate was locked. There was a digital security keypad on it and nothing else. Suddenly, they heard a sound coming from the gate intercom. A voice said,
"The answer to this riddle of mine is the password you need to unlock the gate. I sleep by day and fly at night, but I have no feathers to aid my flight. What am I?"
That's a bat. When the guys arrived at the door, they saw there was something engraved on it. Stop right there, wanderer. Don't knock on the door just yet. For if you knock more or fewer times than you should, that you're gonna regret. Here's your second riddle. I am an odd number, but I become even if you take away a letter. What am I? Gemma and Andy realized that the number equaled the number of times they had to knock on the door for it to open. Can you help them figure out the correct number? The answer is 7, so they had to knock on the door 7 times. A scary old butler opened the door and let the guys in. The door suddenly closed behind their backs and then just vanished into thin air. There were no doors in the room they had entered. The butler said, "Welcome, mortals, to your doom. To make it out of this house, you have to solve every riddle in every room. If you can't, you'll stay in this place forever. Here's your riddle for this room. Which bride is marrying this groom?" If they managed to figure out the answer, a door would appear. If they could not, well, too bad. Do you see the shadows behind them? The third bride's shadow is holding hands with the groom's shadow. They're in love, so she must be his chosen one. After they answered the riddle correctly, a door appeared in front of them. They got into the next room, which was a library. 3 books fell from a bookcase in front of their feet. Then they heard the butler's voice echoing. "You have to open one of these books, but choose wisely, because whatever creature the book mentions, it will appear here." If Gemma and Andy opened the first book, a venomous basilisk would come out. If they opened the second book, a giant piranha monster with razor-sharp teeth would appear in the library. If they opened the third book, a fire-breathing dragon would charge at them. Which book should they choose? Since the giant piranha is a water creature, it can't survive on land, so the guys should choose the second book. The library door opened, and they walked into the next room. It turned out to be a dining room. A large mirror covered one of its walls, yet the reflection of the room in the mirror had some differences from the real room. Can you spot them? The reflection of the deer statue in the mirror has more antlers. In the reflection, you can see someone hiding behind the curtains. But there's no one besides Gemma and Andy in the room. And lastly, in the mirror, one of the plates on the table is different from the others. But in the real dining room, all the plates are the same. Gemma and Andy felt very hungry. Thankfully, the next door that opened led them to the kitchen. There were 3 different chefs inside. The first chef was a zombie, the second one was a vampire, and the third chef was human. Each of them was holding a pie in their hands, but only one pie was safe to eat. Which one? Do you see the bugs coming out of the zombie chef's pie? Yikes! The pie that the human chef is holding is glowing in a weird way. Looks dangerous to me. So they should choose the vampire chef's pie. Because that's not blood, that's cherry sauce on top. If it was blood, the vampire would have already eaten that. After they answered the riddle, 2 doors appeared in front of them. One of them had Gemma's name on it, and the other had Andy's. The butler sneaked behind the guys and pushed Gemma through the Gemma door, and Andy through the Andy door. Gemma fell down a pit and found herself in a mysterious garden. She accidentally woke a garden gnome who had been sleeping. He got very angry with her, and still, he agreed to let Gemma go if she answered his question correctly. He showed Gemma 3 tiny mushroom houses and asked which one was his home. Can you figure it out? Do you see the flower on the gnome's hat? The door handle of the second mushroom house handle is the same flower, so that must be his home. Andy, on the other hand, fell into a magical dungeon. The dungeon guard was an ogre, and he looked very pleased to finally have a prisoner. Yet he agreed to let Andy go if the guy chose the correct magical portal to escape. 2 magical portals appeared in front of him. Each of them led to a room. Andy had to stay inside the room of his choice for 5 minutes. The first room was full of poisonous gas that would knock him out in 4 minutes, and the second room was filled with water. If Andy opted for this room, he would have to be chained to the floor with the water rising really fast. In which room can the guy survive? Andy should choose the first room. He should take a breath and try not to breathe for a minute. After that, he'll have to wait for 4 minutes for the door to open, and then he can escape. Both Gemma and Andy were magically transported to the hallway after having answered their riddles correctly. They were happy to be together again. At the end of the hallway, there was a door, and in front of the door, a witch stood. She placed 3 long magic wands on the table in front of her and said,
You do not need to do anything to one of these wands. One you must break in half, and one needs to be even shorter than that half.
The witch added that they could only answer once, and if their answer was wrong, she wouldn't open the door. So, can you tell which wand should be the longest, which one they need to break into half, and which one needs to be the shortest? Do you see those spiders hanging from the ceiling? Since the door is shaped like a spider, they must be giving Gemma and Andy a hint. The silk thread that the first spider is hanging on is the shortest, so the first wand needs to be the shortest. The silk thread that the second spider is hanging on is the longest, which means that the second wand needs to remain as it is. And the silk thread that the third spider is hanging on is of a medium length, which means that the guys need to break the third wand in half. The witch opened the door and Gemma and Andy entered a bedroom. 3 spirits were floating inside. Each of them claimed to be the owner of the mansion. Gemma knew only one of them was telling the truth. Who is it? The spirit of the elderly lady is telling the truth. Why? Let's rewind a bit. Did you notice the portraits hanging on the walls in the hallway? There's a portrait of this very lady. That can only mean she used to be one of the owners of the mansion. The next stop was a living room. When they walked in, Andy saw something weird. What was it? A face appears and disappears in the fireplace. The guys entered a study next. What's so weird here? The fingers of this medieval knight's armor are tapping on the sword. The next room was a guest bedroom. What's weird here? The crystal ball is showing someone trapped in the basement. Gemma and Andy decided to take a look at the basement in case someone really needed help. Yet they had to crack another riddle to enter. There was a password panel, and they needed to type in 7 digits to unlock the door. They had no idea what the passcode could be. Luckily, there was a note on the wall, and this word was written on it. What does it even mean? Turn the note upside down. What do you see now? The letters look like numbers, right? So the passcode is 1837837. There were 3 people in the basement who claimed to be trapped there, but only one of them was telling the truth. Who is that? Do you see the stitches on the elbows of this lady? She's a creepy rag doll, so she's lying. And this man has claws instead of fingers. He must be a shapeshifter or something. Then it must be this guy who's telling the truth, so Gemma and Andy took him with them. After the guys answered every riddle in every room correctly, the butler appeared again.
Thank you, travelers. Now you're free to go, but this you must know. All of us in this house are cursed.
Answer this one last riddle for the curse to be reversed. Once we are finally free, we'll help you with your car too. You'll see. There are 9 people in front of you. One of them is a monster who cursed us. Tell us who. This guy has 2 horns that are hiding in his hair. He is not a human. He's a monster. Chris and Sally are best friends. They live in different districts of the city. But this morning, they went to the same railway station. Chris left home 15 minutes earlier than Sally. They met in a park. Who was closer to the railway station when they met? The guys met in the same place, which means they were equally far from the station. Chris and Sally arrived at the station in time, but they still needed to buy tickets. The price for one ticket was only 50 cents. Chris gave the ticket booth guy $1 without saying a word, and the guy gave Chris 2 tickets without even looking at him. Why? Because Chris gave him 4 quarters, which implies that they need 2 tickets. Chris and Sally have set an ambitious goal to visit 100 countries in a year. Yippee! This morning they boarded the train and their dream journey began. Can you guess their first destination by looking at this picture? Well, have you cracked this rebus? It's Spain. The guys began to play cards with fellow travelers. They noticed the deck was missing a few cards. They also noticed that if they dealt the rest of the cards among 4 people, 3 cards would remain. And if they dealt these cards between 3 people, 2 cards would remain. If they distributed the cards among 5 people, again, 2 cards would remain. How many cards were left in the pack? There were 47 cards left in the pack. Let's see if 47 can be divided by 4. Each of the 4 players will get 11 cards and 3 cards will be left. And if 47 is divided by either 3 or 5, 2 cards will remain undistributed. The guys got hungry and went to the dining car to get some snacks. The waiter brought them drinks and some pastries. When Sally saw the croissant, she yelled and jumped away. There were 2 B's in front of 2 B's. 2 B's behind 2 B's, and 2 B's next to 2 B's. How many B's did she see? Even if it seems there were a lot of B's in that group, in reality, there were only 4. They simply stood in a square formation. When Chris and Sally returned to their car, they found out that someone had broken inside their cabin and stolen their expensive camera and laptops. They called the train guard and questioned 3 witnesses. Chuck said, "I've spent the last 20 minutes in a restroom. You see, I bought 1 pack of instant noodles right before departure, but I regretted it as soon as I finished my meal." Lola said, "I've been editing my vlog for the last hour. I was wearing headphones and didn't leave my cabin." And Daniel said, "I've been partying all night, so I fell asleep as soon as I got on the train." Who's lying? It's Chuck. He said he only bought 1 pack of instant noodles and eaten it. But where does this unopened package come from? Suddenly, the train drove into a tunnel. The lights on the train went out for a few seconds. When the lights came back on, Chris and Sally saw that Chuck had escaped. They chased him around the train cars. Can you help them find Chuck in this car? He's hiding over here. And what about this car? He's hiding on the luggage rack. What about this car? There he is. He's wearing the uniform, pretending to be a train worker. The guys got off the train in Barcelona. After that, they ordered a taxi to go to the apartment they rented in advance. The driver was very generous. He said, "I will give you a free ride if you solve my riddle. I have 4 wings, but I cannot fly.
I never laugh and never cry. On the same spot, I'm always found, toiling away with little sound. What am I?
The guys solved this riddle right away and enjoyed their free ride. What about you? The correct answer is a windmill. Finally, the guys found their apartment, but the door was locked. The combination lock required a 4-digit passcode. Can you find any clues and help the guys open the door? There are 6 words written on the wall: eyes, nose, skin, hair, ears, and tongue. All of the listed words are human sense organs, except hair. It's a hint. The correct passcode is hair. The guys loved the rented apartment a lot, but there's one item they liked most of all. Solve this riddle to find out which one. I'm a word of 6. My first 3 letters refer to an automobile. My last 3 letters refer to a household animal. My first 4 letters are a fish. And my whole is found in your room. What am I? The correct answer is a carpet. Sally and Chris went for a walk along the beach. They built a beautiful sandcastle and then went swimming. When they returned, they noticed someone had destroyed their castle. They decided to interrogate 3 people standing nearby. Francois said, "I've been putting sunblock on my wife's back and I didn't notice your castle." Billy said, "I played ball with my friends. I focused on the game and I didn't touch your castle." Alice said, "I saw one weird guy passing by. He stepped on your sandcastle. Horrible. People are all so ill-mannered." Who's lying? Alice. She had lost one of her earrings at the crime scene. The guys headed to a beach party. Chris asked the local DJ to play his favorite song. The DJ said, "All right, but you gotta solve my riddle first. I'm always in charge. I'm never in debt. I'm known as the first amongst all my kind. I'm found within cars, but never in buses. You won't find me in Mexico, but you'll find me in Germany. What am I?" Chris cracked this riddle very quickly. What about you? The correct answer is the letter A. The guys planned a boat ride for the next day. That's why Sally decided to check the weather forecast. Can you tell whether it's a good idea to sail? This puzzle says thunderstorm, so they probably should choose another way to spend their time. Chris and Sally decided to visit the greenhouse to enjoy the local flora and fauna. How many flowers and butterflies are there if both of the following statements are true? If all the butterflies land on all the flowers, 1 butterfly for 1 flower, 1 butterfly won't get a flower. And if every 2 butterflies decide to share a flower, 1 flower will be left without a butterfly. Do you think you'll manage to find the answer? That's right. There are 4 butterflies and 3 flowers. Chris and Sally went to see the local museum. Unfortunately, they got lost in the basement. They wandered around for a while and found 3 doors leading outside. Behind the first door, there was a zombie with dangerous hungry monsters. Behind the second door, there was a lake with cold water so cold that nobody could spend even a minute in it. Behind the third door, there was a giant dinosaur breathing fire. Which door should they choose to survive? To solve this riddle, we should remember these 2 things. First of all, dinosaurs didn't breathe fire. That's what dragons do. And dinosaurs went extinct many millions of years ago, so Chris and Sally should choose door number 3. Chris and Sally ran outside the creepy museum, but suddenly a guard popped out of nowhere and said,
I'm going to set you free if you manage to crack my riddle. Here it is. Look in my face. I'm somebody. Look in my back. I'm nobody. What am I?
Can you help the guys out? The correct answer is a mirror. Chris and Sally went to a souvenir shop to buy some gifts for their friends. The seller offered them 3 boxes, but the guys can pick only 1 box. Can you help them make the right choice? The first box has a dark bottom, like something is leaked or rotten. The second box looks too fancy and bright, so there's probably something cheap inside. The third one looks like the first one, but it's clean, so they should choose the third box. The guys went to the local skyscraper to take panoramic pictures of the city. They saw a man gazing through the window of the 33rd floor of the building. He suddenly opened the window and jumped on the other side of the window. When he landed on the floor, he was totally fine. How can that be possible if he didn't use any kind of parachute and didn't land on a soft surface? The man is a window cleaner who jumped inside through the window after finishing his work on the 33rd floor. The next day, Sally and Chris arrived at the airport. Can you guess their next location? That's right, it's Greece. When you have 3, you have 3. When you have 2, you have 2. When you have 1, you have none. What is it that you have? Can you crack this code? The correct answer is choice. When you have 3, you have 3 options. When you have 2, you have 2 options. But as soon as there's only 1 remaining, there are no options.